Welcome back to Chess for Closers. Dave Sherman here. Got another typical Emery Tate game. One of those color complex games that he was so famous for. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But as I've mentioned before, Tate can't be pigeonholed as just some Nezhmetov type player who only knew how to attack and was lost if positional themes were important. No, he was a well-rounded player, but he did have his predilections. I showed a game a few weeks ago against a fella named, I thought it was Jeff Crook, but it turns out to be another Crook. And Tate won a miniature by dominating the light squares. He had the black pieces, and Mr. Crook resigned even in material, but just about to lose a whole piece because the light squares were so dominated. Now, Emery made a living on the dark squares, and I say that because, as we all know, he was a Sicilian player, and he played the King's Indian, and these are dark square openings. And so we have a game against Tom Peters. Probably haven't seen this one. I pulled this out of an old Virginia Chess newsletter. Tom Peters was a master. Maybe he still is. I haven't heard from him in years. I guess he was from Virginia. Anyway, so I have Emery's position on the bottom here. So we'll see see it from the brilliant side. Tom played d4, knight f6, and bishop g5, the Trompovsky attack. Why do they call it an attack? Well, they can't call it a defense because it's white making the moves. It's just a name. There's nothing, as far as I know, it's just a developing move. Now, Emery gives the first indication that he's going to make this about the dark squares. He could have played the pawn all the way up to d5, and that would be quite a different pawn structure. And Tom played bishop takes f6. Emery took toward the center. So what has changed in the last move here? Well, what can we say about White's position? It's his move. Important point. He's got a pawn in the center on the fourth rank. Good thing. Would we ever say, would it make any sense to say, and he's got two knights? Nah, so what? Yeah, I wouldn't say that. How about Black's position? He has 17 center pawns, oh no, okay, not 17, but at any rate, the G pawn, which is definitely not a center pawn, is now an F pawn, and one could argue that it's a center pawn. At any rate, it's more a center pawn than it was, and it gives you more control over E5, which is the central square. Yeah, center pawns are good. Are double pawns good? I'd say if they're center pawns, they are good. I want to. That's another thing I like to talk about. I guess I haven't talked about it much, but I surely feel that double pawns get a bad rap. If they were G pawns and are now F pawns, or likewise on the other side, the closer they are to the center, the more value they are. And if there's a pawn in front of them or behind them, they're still a center pawn as far as I'm concerned. And the more the merrier. Anyway, okay, so Tom played this move. Not a developing move. And you'll notice that he's a long way away from castling. Anyway, so there's a theme here. As I said, Tate made a living attacking dark squares. Okay, so what's the dark square attacking move? There's only one that makes sense, c5. And of course, if white takes on c5, black won't take back, although that's not a terrible move. He'll probably just win the pawn back by playing queen a5 and taking one way or the other. But at any rate, yeah, this is consistent with for black. White has given away his black squared bishop. Well, the dark squares are going to be a natural place to attack. Is white lost? Of course not. But the fact of the matter is, black's counterplay or play, depending on how the game goes, isn't going to be in the light squares. It's going to be on the dark squares because they have been weakened. This diagonal no longer has a bishop on it. This pawn is no longer defended by a bishop on c1, and so queen to b6 attacks both this way, and it attacks into the middle. If there were a black bishop on c1, a black squared white bishop on c1, these moves might not make so much sense. In fact, they wouldn't. White needs to shore up, and again, Tom was a master, so he knew that he had to shore up the dark squares, and he did that by this e3 move, which is a developing move. It helps get the bishop out. Black took, white took, and now continuing with the theme. Double attack, not defended on b2, defended once here. b3, not a developing move. He's not fianchetting his queen bishop. And so black got his second piece out. So you can already feel, you should already feel that something that white has had to concede quite a bit. He might like playing against double pawns. He may like knights better than bishops. And nevertheless, black is ahead in development, and that's not supposed to be. Okay, so what to do? d4's hit twice. White can play d5. Does that go along with black's theme of taking control of the dark squares? Indeed, it does. When a pawn goes from a dark square to a light square, it no longer covers any dark squares. And so d5 gives away the e5 square. It gives away the c5 square. It blocks, this could happen 30 moves down the road. It blocks the long diagonal of the only bishop that white has left. And yet it may very well be the best move here. Knight f3 might run into bishop g4, which is in keeping with black's theme of attacking the dark squares. Knight on f3 defends d4, pin the knight, knight's no longer defending d4. What he played was knight to e2. He was afraid of bishop to g4, I guess, although the computer thinks that f5 is the best move for black, would have been the best move had white played knight f3. How about f5? Is that part of any theme? It is. Opening the long diagonal, the long black diagonal, and black's bishop on g7 would be a monster bishop, no counterpart. Now Tate played what the computer, they weren't impressed with this move. They like f5 followed by bishop g7. But Emery, let's back that up. Emery played bishop f5. So not a bad move, but so he's got 3 pieces out and 1 for white. Now the threat, of course, is knight to b4 and knight to c2 winning a rook. And it's not so easily stopped. The best move is probably a3. And, knight a5 could be played. But I think I would probably just play bishop to g7. Or here's something else, again, along the theme. h5 is a very strange-looking move. But in positions where white has given away his black squared bishop, the reason black plays this move, rather than getting his let's back it up, rather than putting the bishop out on h6, the queen can come out to h5 under certain circumstances, it's attacking the bishop, and black can play h5 to avoid that, and then bishop h6. Um, anyway, so a3 was possible. Tom played queen to d2, and he had something in mind here. Yes, the knight is coming in to b4 and probably c2, but in the meantime, white is going to make life miserable for black's white squared bishop. So knight to b4. Emery played knight to b4. And now knight to g3. So the idea is, well, black is winning the rook on a1. White is taking a bishop on f5. And the knight isn't to escape. Ideally, white takes two pieces and black takes the rook. And white would be happy. Spoiler alert. Yeah. Knight to c2, king to d1, and now not knight takes a1, playing into white's plan, but just how about just bishop g6? Where's that rook going? Of course, as I said, Tom was no slouch. He had a plan. f4 with the idea of f4, f5 winning the bishop, and again, a knight on a8, a1 is doesn't figure to get out. It may take a while. May not take too long, and the queen can come to b2 and take it, I guess. So this is the plan. But Emery had seen this. How to handle f5 here. Well, how about get a bishop out? Your unopposed bishop, by the way. So pawn is pinned along the c1, h6 diagonal. So white continues the threat again. Now f5 with black's knight not getting out of the corner. The problem is queen takes d4. Yeah, okay. No, black's not winning a rook. Queens have to come off. What do you know? The knight on d4 covers the f5 square, and the f pawn can be defended. Anyway, the other thing is black's still threatening to come in and take the rook, and this time he would get out, I think. Anyway, so but in the meantime, he's also threatening just taking a second pawn. Tom played f5. I guess Tate could have taken with the knight, but he played here. And I guess he was thinking that if white takes the bishop, he takes back with the knight, and his knight is coming into e3. It doesn't really matter here. Two pawns down against Emery. Tom played knight a3 to cover c2. Check. Yeah, he got a piece out. He's getting pieces out. And now Emery took, knight takes. And well, let's just, how about this? What's Emery's final move? Tom resigned after this. What makes sense? They taught me early on in my chess development, don't take pinned pieces. They can't move. They're not going anywhere. So, of course, Emery didn't take on e2. Did he get a piece out? That's so like Emery. Yeah, how about rook to g8? The threat is to take and take. So maybe g3. And there's not much more to look at. Like I said, black's got 17 center pawns. He's got the two bishops and two extra pawns, by the way. No reason to play this out. So, typical Tate game? I think so. And I think I'm qualified to say so. I had the white pieces more than half the time against Emery, and always by move 10 or 15, I was worse. And trying, if I tried a little harder for an opening advantage, it may not have happened. I was trying to just maintain some sort of equilibrium, and it just never worked. And what do you know? 8-0, 0-8. Okay. I got more Tate gains, but I got other stuff too. I want to. I've shown one game where two minor pieces dominated the queen. I want to explore that theme a little more, and I'll show a couple games with that theme soon. Um, Please subscribe wherever the subscribe button is, and hit like wherever the thumb is. And check me out next time on Chess for Closers. See ya.